quality's bad or whatever. Where should we start? So, recently, HorazVitae on Reddit sent me this Mindlathe Lilathe deck, which I've played a few games with it so far. I really enjoy it. It's a bit odd. It's very interesting, and I think there's a bit more depth to it than I'm potentially fully aware of yet. So the deck is built around the interaction between Mindlathe and cards like Blood Echoes. Blood Echoes and Consuming Rebirth. So basically, if you Mindlathe and steal someone's minion, if you then cast Blood Echoes or Consuming Rebirth cards which sacrifice it and resummon it, you get to keep, not only do you have the death trigger, but you get to keep the resummoned minion as well. So it's basically a combo that lets you attack with a minion and then steal it. It's very powerful. Obviously it's a 2-card combo, but you can take advantage of it by including other things that make those individual cards good by themselves. So to go with Blood Echoes and Rebirth, we have Sarlac. Sarlac is a great troll card. Turns on Ritual Banishing quite well. Turns on Darkfire Sacrifice. We have Shadow Dancer, which is great for an attrition plan. Mostly combos with Sarlac in this deck, but obviously you have Lilathe's Bloodborne spell as well. I think Shadow Dancer is generally an underrated card, so I'm quite happy to see it in this deck. And we also have Necromata, which is a source of draw, basically a way of finding Sarlac to make Sarlac itself more consistent, because the card does a powerful, unique thing. To go with Mindlathe, we have Mindlathe. The card is bonkers. But just to make things a little spicier, we have Demonic Lure, which can potentially pull a minion into range, where you can attack and steal it. As a Herald to keep us alive while we're hitting things. Ditto the Shadow Dancer. There's a Kaleno as well. And finally we can sacrifice things to Deepfire Devourer if we have to, as well as Devourer being a big beefy creature. So, you might see, just looking at this, there's quite a few unconventional cards in here. There's Aethermaster, which is like, not a great card, but serves pretty well in decks that are trying to assemble specific combos, which this one certainly is. We've got Darkfire Sacrifice and Sphere of Darkness, as in most Abyssian decks, especially Lilith ones. Although we don't have a lot of payloads for the Darkfire Sacrifice. It's mostly there, I think, to make use of Mindlathe's minions, like you can DFS their stolen minions so they don't get it back. It's a pretty sweet combo. Consuming Rebirth is as a 3-of because you want to combo it with Mindlathe as well as Sarlac. Mana Forger, I think, is here to make the combos faster, like being able to go off a turn earlier with, playing Mindlathe plus Rebirth or Blood Echoes from hand is faster if you have a Mana Forger in play, and it also makes things like Sphere of Darkness really nice. Ritual Banishing, nothing unusual there. Pretty standard Lilith removal spell. This Deepfire Devourer, Horaz told me this is basically meant to be a big distraction creature, alternate win condition. I think they didn't mention the interaction with Mindlathe, but I imagine that's also part of the idea behind the card. People don't usually play Deepfire Devourer because it's a bit clunky, but it is at least an 8/8 frenzy for 5, so there's some, with Lilith's Bloodborne spell, but there's some potential there. Oh, hey, Horaz, maybe you can explain your deck better than I can. So let me know if I say anything that's wrong or put words in your mouth. Necromata, I tried for a while to make this card work, mostly in Lurking Fair decks. I also tried a control deck using it as a value engine. It was bad in both. So I haven't really seen it do much yet in this deck. The awkward thing about it is if you play it on curve, you usually mill a card. Because a 4-drop that dies and draws 2 is actually quite a lot. And it basically doesn't empty their hand very easily. And if you play it later, it's just like slow and unimpactful. It's a bit of an awkward thing with Neko in my experience. But using it just as a tutor for Sarlac, like either it hits Sarlac or it hits other Necromatas and you can try again, that's a pretty useful, that's a neat design. That's something I hadn't considered. That's what DFS helps with. Yeah, I guess that is true. Darkfire Sacrifice is nice for emptying your hand, although it does mean you have to sacrifice 2-drops and then hope they don't have like a Dispel for this. Or you DFS the Necromata itself, which is like okay, but a bit, you're spending 4 mana and 2 cards to draw 2 cards, basically. Then Kaleno, nothing unusual here, And Shadow Dancer, as I mentioned earlier, I think Shadow Dancer is a really underplayed card, so I'm glad to see this in the deck. Even if it doesn't look like it's an obviously swarmy deck, this card is actually just really powerful. So I have a couple of things in mind that I would cut, potentially, but I'm not entirely sure what I'd put in favor of them yet. So I'm going to give the deck a couple more goes, and then we'll see if I have a more coherent thoughts on it. I've played it a few times already. I played against one-man army Varth, who played, I think, 1 minion in the whole game. No, 2. He played a Cryptographer on turn 1. They played Crypto into Varth Brutality into Varth Brutality, and they were like 6 power on turn 3 or 4. And I thought I was a goner. But I managed to duplicate a bunch of Sarlacs, and then play Shadow Dancer, which kept me alive. And then won by Mindlathing Grandmaster Kragon and killing him with it. I played against a Songhai player. I think that match went relatively straightforwardly. I think it was. And then I played against a Vitruvian player who, despite missing their turn 1 going second, destroyed me. Mostly due to a Scion's Second Wish on a massive Dervish. And I think those are the games I've played with the deck so far. It is a pretty sweet deck. Like, Mindlathe is a card that I just underappreciated because I didn't realize how many stupid interactions there are with it. So I'm pretty grateful to Horaz for bringing it to my attention, essentially. Right, do we want Blood Echoes in the opener? I don't think so. Not with a hand like this. Maybe if I had a Sarlac I would. Vitruvian don't usually play a lot of Dispel. They rely on Blood of Air. Neko should be able to slip under that, so possibly we can run this out and hope to draw a Sarlac off it. But if we just play it on turn 2, we're unlikely to have space in the hand. So I think I'm going to replace and look for a 2-drop. If we can go 2-drop plus Demonic Lure into Nekomato, we'll be in a happy place. The best card of the expansion, IMO, definitely in the top 5 of being the most fun. Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I just haven't played with Mindlathe myself. Like, after this, I'm going to have to do a bunch of brewing with Mindlathe of my own because the card is ridiculously cool. Okay, we have Neko Darkfire for that combo. Let's see if we can find a... No, we can't. Right, so I guess I'm going to lure the Ethereal Obelisk to the back just for tempo's sake. I don't want to get run over by Dervishes just yet. And we could put a Sphere of Darkness on it to make sure that over time it does actually die. I'm going to move forward and take the center, or at least contest the center. Right, this hand is quite bad now. That doesn't help a lot. Mindlathe plus Darksack. Yeah, there's quite a few interactions with it. Like, there's Darkfire Sacrifice. The thing that I didn't think you could do, or didn't realize you could do, was Consuming Rebirth and Blood Echoes, which is what this deck is built around. There's also... There's just weird random stuff that it does. Like, I think if they attack you in your turn, you get the minion through to their turn. Which makes it much harder to break the Mindlathe off without losing a bunch of stuff, essentially. This is very awkward for us. Grenadier dies too easily here, so I'm going to replace it. Aethermaster. I mean, we can Neko DFS and hope to get a Sarlac into play. And then attack this with our face. That might work. Then what? Then I guess we can go attack, Demonic Lure on this next turn. That doesn't really do a lot, though. I think it's better than nothing. This matchup is probably just bad. Like, Mindlathe doesn't do anything against obelisks. Unless you have DFS, I guess. That's the thought. Maybe I should play Aethermaster in the hope that I can replace into Mindlathe. Replace this. I use Mindlathe and Groveline in most of my cast decks. That sounds disgusting and awesome. I like it. I'm going to do this for now. Try and get Sarlac out. Come to Papa. Cool. What makes Ethermaster good? Does it help alleviate decks with low draw? That is a question I ask myself quite often. I think the idea is Ethermaster allows you to line up different synergies. Like, this deck has a lot of specific combos. You need Mindlathe in particular for a lot of the interactions to work. But I've never liked Ethermaster. I always find that, like, I'm just under too much pressure, and the other cards in my hand do a bit more. And so I always end, maybe this is wrong, but I always end up replacing it instead of the cards that, instead of playing it and replacing it into other cards. Because I just find that once you start doing that, you run out of gas quite quickly. Right. So, we don't need 2 Shadow Dancers. That's good. So I guess we can play Ethermaster and maybe replace Necromartyr. Can put it over here. Replace this, and then what do we draw that's actually any good though? Like, if we had Mindlathe in hand, we would have a sweet play of stealing this and killing the opponent with it. I should back off one to forbid the Allomancer from attacking me this turn so that I can potentially do that next turn. Which maybe means I play the Ethermaster anyway because it'll help try and line that up. So we replace this. Damn it. Right, I guess I'll just kill this. Sarlac can probably stay where he is. You die. Here's some 1/1s. Okay, we're slowly starting to stabilize. My opponent's going into their Blood of Air turn now, but they don't really have any good targets for it, so maybe that's okay. It's not going to kill a Wraith thing. So that plays around the Mindlathe a bit more. Although I think if we kill it, we still get the Dervish. The Obelisk. I might be wrong though. Oh my. At least I don't think they can kill the Ethermaster with this. But they can, like, kill me, so... Ooh, good spawn. At least we have the Shadow Dancer ready. This is pretty rough, though. My god. You don't see a Star Sphere every day. No, that's true. It's a very easy card to forget to play around as well. So, I can trade here and Sphere of Darkness it, which will give my opponent the Obelisk, but trigger the Shadow Dancer once. I can Sphere of Darkness this, and attack this with Sarlac, making sure both of these die, which is 2 triggers. Can crash this into something for another one. But let's start with the double replaces. Okay. Does that do anything yet? I don't know whether you get this if it dies to the attack. I think the answer is no because it says after. So I guess I'm just running away from this. So we can put Shadow Dancer in the corner. I can step over here. This can come up maybe to body block. We can Sphere of Darkness. I think I'll do this first and then replace again. Yeah, that's an easy replace. Blood Echoes. Do I just Azza Herald Echoes instead? No, I don't think so. I think Shadow Dance is better. I'm going to leave this here where it body blocks. In the hope that that's slightly better. I don't think so. I can't remember ever having that happen. Okay, thank you. Echo's Lathe next turn is good. I agree. That could be spicy. Depending on what my opponent does. So I guess one thing we can do is come and trade here and then steal the Obelisk. Maybe he plays a Mara healer, that would be ideal? No, okay. Well, I can't do a lot from here. Let's see. I have... Mindlathe doesn't do anything yet. But this is a good answer to a Mara healer. This is pretty mediocre. It's probably the easiest to replace because I kind of want this to potentially combo next turn. Okay, that's good. We can put this in the corner. We have a second replace as well. Am I bold enough to replace as a Herald? Because if I just Shadow Spawn this turn, I can block myself off kind of fully. My opponent can obviously get through it because they're just 1/1s, but their stuff might die in the process. Ooh. So we can Darkfire the Sarlac just to get a trigger and potentially get it closer to me. Damn it, Sarlac. Second Shadow Dancer isn't bad. Although Shadow Dance and Blood Echoes doesn't actually work together. Which is a bit sucky. Still, at least Blood of Air on this isn't a massive punish. There you have it. Oh my. Oh no! Does that kill us? Probably. No, not quite. I'm pretty sure my opponent just missed lethal. If they'd killed this, they could go face with the thingy. And that would be... Oh no, they can anyway. What am I talking about? That is one answer to Shadow Dancer. Yeah, that matchup feels awful. Having played that twice and lost pretty hard both times. Like, we don't really have answers to stuff.